in a socialistic state like Venezuela, where people eat animals in the zoo, and Zimbabwe, where people kill the wildlife to survive because of hunger, compared to other countries where, like social welfare countries, the Nordic countries, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and these countries, it's quite the opposite. It's also socialistic democratic states, but it's not forms of totalitarian socialism, like Zimbabwe and like Venezuela and North Korea. If we take, for example, Venezuela in the 1950s, the GDP per capita in Venezuela was higher than even the United States. Now, one asks yourself, how is it possible that a country can deteriorate to such an extent where people eat now as the animals in zoos? And we look at the history, we see that Venezuela have nationalized the banks. They have nationalized property rights. They've intervened and controlled all factors for production. And it's becoming a criminal state with a quasi-judicial system where law order is not guaranteed. And that's what happened in the time of Mugabe as well, during the last term of his office, and currently also in Zimbabwe with Mr. Emerson as president, and that I think is maybe on his last legs at the moment. Because you can fool people some of the time, but not all people all the time. And as Lord Acton says, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts totally. So that's what happened in a socialistic country, where absolute power corrupts totally. And there's no checks and balances compared to a capitalistic country, even if the checks and balances doesn't always work, like in Namibia with the Anti-Corruption Commission, with the Financial Intelligence Center, with the Ombudsman that doesn't have, can only make recommendations, and some recommendations are not enforced, not implemented in Namibia. The Anti-Corruption Commission that, for example, can decide unilaterally if they want to send the docket to the Prosecutor General, to proceed. And with not adequate checks and balances, why they should explain why they haven't submitted a docket to the Prosecutor General. And Prosecutor General that's there have got the monopoly to prosecute or not. And we have several types of these types of monopolies of power. And these monopolies of power create corruption. It is a certified, can put it that way, a certified way to create corruption. If you have monopolies of power, and then you put regulators to it, like NAMCOR, certainly you will get corruption. So what's happening, just to come back, I'm not saying Namibia is a socialistic country, but we have a mixed economy. And in the SWAPO manifest, that part has been activated some years ago, that the objective is to become a socialistic state. So we have freedom. We have one of the most free press in Africa. On the one hand, that's seriously criticized by government from time to time. But on the other hand, we have capitalistic principles. We have freedom of speech. We have property rights. That's very important for business. But what we see more and more is a clampdown on private business, trying to make it extremely possible for them to generate growth, instead of giving them tax breaks, like in Zanzibar, where for the first 10 years you don't have to pay tax as a business. So just to put that into perspective. And I haven't even mentioned the investment promotion bill, the equity employment equity bill, the cybercrime bill, and these type of things that are all increasing socialistic tendencies of the current government, where the unemployment rate is the highest ever in the 30 years of Namibia's independence, and where graduates doesn't have jobs, and that's also the highest rate ever before. So, just to return to the old issue about socialism, is that there's a danger that the young people of today see socialism as a theoretical concept that seems very fine.